and then we'll bring him in like a minute in. All right, Richie, we are here. 72 hours, just a little over, maybe 72 hours and 30 minutes, but we are officially to game week. I was kind of shocked when we got there on Sunday and we did our weekly show and our first preview show of the year. So excited for this, excited to talk a little FSU, LSU. Honestly, I'm excited for somebody else to talk about FSU, LSU because I feel like we've talked about this, I don't know, every week since June. So I'm excited to hear somebody else talk about this a little bit. We'll give a real quick shout out to Guthrie's 2525 North Monroe or 1818 West Tennessee. And then one more plug is go get your tailgate tickets. There's only like 50 left. So we're going to run out of space. And don't be calling me on Saturday night or Sunday morning trying to get in. Eventbrite.com link is in the description. All right, let's get after it. Let's get right to it, Richie. Let's get my guy, Blake Ruffino, on. Are You Serious Sports? Covers LSU. Big time Tiger guy. And we're inviting Blake back because Florida State's 1-0, and so we're keeping that streak. We're trying to keep that streak alive. Anything we can do. I'm wearing the same clothes I was wearing last year for the preview show. Haven't washed them. We're just keeping everything consistent. So, Blake, what's going on, my man?
Good evening, everyone. I just want to let you know I'm wearing the same exact pants, underoos, socks, and shirt the day that LSU won the national title, the day that I came on the show the last time. So hopefully this is good luck. I did not wash anything, okay? Nothing's been washed, TJ, in 3 months, okay? Okay. This is good luck, all right? Okay, we got Richie in the house. What's up, Richie? I mean, I got to say this before we get rolling. Richie's got the best beard known to man. Look at that thing.
Yeah, I shaved this morning, man, and here we are. So I don't know what to do.
That thing's got its own 401k plan, right?
And to be clear, Blake is referencing a baseball national championship, which, if you remember that episode, he's like, I got to get to this game, guys. I got to watch this. But because they beat those fools from Gainesville, I'm cool with it. And Blake, always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It's going to be a fun game, man. It's going to be what I predicted. Look, TJ, I know TJ shared this, but just to your listeners, man, about 2 months ago, I know we had the viral clip that went out about me saying I'm more worried about Florida State than Alabama from an LSU perspective. I stay with that. And so I think this is two potential playoff teams going at it, and this is going to be fun, man. This is what you love about college football, so it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of stakes on the line.
So I want to ask you this. I feel like last year LSU came in as a slight favorite, just like they are this year.
Yep.
And game in New Orleans, I think a lot of people really thought LSU would walk away with this win, and it was pretty even. But I think the fan base didn't freak out so much because it was game one of the tenure, and then obviously LSU did rebound pretty quickly to win the SEC West, and so they did a good job last year. How LSU fans are confident. I think Florida State fans are confident. But if LSU, I feel like this is more of and I don't say must win because it's out of conference. You still control your own destiny. But I feel like LSU fans are going to take this harder if they don't win. I think they're going to be like, Florida State fans lose. I think they say like, okay, we got Clemson in 3 weeks. We got a chance to rebound. And we won last year. We split. We split with a great team.
Right.
LSU loses this. I think they're going to overreact a little bit more than Florida State fans will.
Well, you don't have any room for error. And look, I don't mean this in the wrong way. I mean, Florida State's trying to leave the conference just as much as anybody. Okay, so whatever. Let me ask you this: would you rather go through Clemson twice, or would you rather go through Alabama and Georgia? Because the truth be told, I'd rather try to go through Clemson. All right, I mean, Georgia's a juggernaut. Let's call them what they are. Okay, you just don't have any margin for error. Where I think, like you mentioned, Florida State can go in there and a couple weeks after that and beat Clemson, and everybody's like, oh, okay, so Florida State was, like LSU and Florida State, it was for real. Florida State's still a really good team. TJ, the vibe, though, is LSU hasn't won an opening game in 3 years. This would be the fourth straight if they were to lose, right? So Mississippi State, UCLA, Florida State last year. that would really piss them off. Okay, so more or less, like they just want to win week 1. That's more of the vibe. But I do agree. I mean, you still got Bama and Georgia there at the end, right? Where I don't want to say Florida State's schedule is easier, but to get to the playoff, to go through Alabama and Georgia, I do think would be – look, Georgia, it's just LSU doesn't match up well against them. That nobody really does, you know? And so that would be the point. Like, you could still slip up to Georgia in the SEC title game and get in. We've seen SEC teams do it. We've seen Georgia literally lose and get in. So we'll see.
I actually disagree with TJ a little bit. I think the Florida State fan base is very confident. And, you know, I've been, browsing the LSU message boards as well. LSU fans are confident. I just hope this game delivers, because if this is a 2-score game and, someone wins, 38-24, one fan base is going to be very shocked and shook come Sunday night, early Monday morning.
Yeah, I mean, but in a way, with these two offenses, would you be surprised in a 14-point swing? You know what I mean? Like, because I don't know if I would. Like I really wouldn't. I mean, and here's the crazy thing. Both teams played sloppy as hell last year. They both scored 24 points. Let's call it what it is. I mean, you're an extra point away from both scoring 24. 2 muff punts, 2 turnovers in the red zone for Florida State. I mean, it was kind of intriguing, but I just hated we lost. I mean, it was fun there at the end. I'm like, Jane Daniels, 99 yards. Then we can't make an extra point.
Harlan drove all day and then made it back. So shout out Harlan for getting here on time to produce. But
how are y'all doing, by the way? How is it? How is the state of Florida? How are things go? Seriously, with the hurricane and everything.
Oh yeah. So I think this is going to sound cow. I do think it took like a pretty good path for like the least populated areas. Like it's always weird because you don't want it to hit you, but you know that by wishing it away from you, you're wishing it on somebody else. But I do think it didn't hit Tampa. It didn't hit Tally directly. I mean, it definitely did a lot of damage. I haven't really seen counts or anything, but I do think it hit like the least. So yeah, if you're watching this or affected by the hurricane at all, I mean, obviously our thoughts and prayers are with you. But I think it was as minimal as it could be, for where it hit. Like if that was a direct hit to Tampa, I mean, we'd have a lot of bad news.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I don't like you said that perfectly, man. I mean, because we went through a Category 5 2 years ago, man. Mm-hmm. And it's just like it went literally the eye of the storm went over our house. So it was like, man,
we're texting you through, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, listen, I don't want to go through this again. And I just look, it's just a game at the end of it. I'm just checking on everybody in the state of Florida. I mean, because look, you don't want that to happen to anybody.
Yeah. So, Richie, start us off here. I was going to say Harlan and I were in that end zone. So taking it back to FSU, we were in that end zone. So it was a good view of it. I'll never forget that. So I thought you guys had us in overtime, but thank God for Shaheem Brown.
Blake, enough talk of last year because that was more than any of us could really handle. I think it was a fun game. But this year, there's actual stakes on the line, right? It's funny because Florida State and LSU have played a lot in the past, but never to these stakes where you have 2 top 10 teams with playoff aspirations on the line. Some shattering news broke earlier this week that Mason Smith will be unavailable. TJ and I did a show on Sunday, and we both agree it's complete rubbish by the NCAA to suspend him over some autographs. That is now very not just legal but encouraged. But obviously LSU's always has a great defensive line. But how much does Mason Smith being out impact this game? I know he was banged up a little bit in camp, but he was still going to give us 25, 30 snaps, and he's a guy that can change the game in one of those snaps.
Well, I mean, I do think anytime a potential first-round pick is off the field, it's a big deal, right? Like I watched the Oklahoma Florida State game from the bowl last night, and if I'm not mistaken, didn't Fabian Lovett not play in that game? Right? Am I mistaken? Did he not play in that game? Just as an example, and Florida State gave up some rushing yards. It's the same deal, right? And so. when you have that caliber of dude, I do think it hurts. But the biggest surprise for me, I've been saying it even before Mason Smith was out, before we knew he was out. This kid, Jordan Jefferson from West Virginia, is not a joke. Like, if we look up at the end of this game and said, who is this Jordan Jefferson kid? Okay, I would not be shocked at all, because Brian Kelly has given the media like full access to practice. So like when we're there the entire time, here I go back to the studio. I'm sitting here. I'm like, wait, that's a Jordan Jefferson sack. What? 10 plays later, wait, that's another Jordan Jefferson sack. Oh wait, there was a half sack for Jordan Jefferson. So I do think it's a big deal, but I am really intrigued by this West Virginia transfer. He hasn't been talked about a lot, but I think he's somebody to keep our eyes out on early to see how much he plays and see if he can get after Jordan Travis a little bit. Now, he's not going to run him down, okay? like he's 325 pounds. He's not going to run anything down. The only thing he's running anything down is a bowl of mashed potatoes, okay, with a gumbo.
Preach.
That's about it. But regardless, if you push that pocket with Harold Perkins on the outside, maybe you can wreak a little havoc. So, Richie, I do think it's a big deal. But I am really intrigued by the depth that LSU has this year compared to what they did a year ago.
Yeah, and you just mentioned Harold Perkins, right? Obviously, he's, in my opinion, the best defender in the entire country, regardless of position. What that man did as a freshman on the last 8 games of the season or so, it was just ridiculous. So LSU's front seven as a whole, I see it as a pretty big strength. And Mike Norvell's going to want to establish a running game with Trey Benson, Rodney Hill, Lawrence Sofili, the stable of backs he has. Am I right to say that LSU's front seven is just nasty? Because that's kind of what I'm getting looking at practice reports and just the players and the personnel that y'all have.
They have been. They've been pretty disgusting, right? Like, I can't. I'm not. I'd say it on my show how disgusting they've been, but I'm not going to say it on an opponent's. But they've been really good, Richie. Just by all accounts, and I think Harold Perkins is a big deal. Like he's been all over the place, but I do think that the O-line for LSU has really stood out to me this during camp. Look, Will Campbell is an All-American for a reason. Look, it's LSU did not play a couple of the freshmen in this game. Harold Perkins didn't play in this game last year. Emory Jones at right tackle didn't play, and they've all held their own. I do agree, though. I think this front seven is really nasty. They have to stay disciplined, though, because, look, Mike Norvell, if there's one thing that – Mike Norvell came out the womb saying counter, okay? Counter run. All right, pull the guard, pull the tackle. Counter. He had the cornrows, okay? And he was running counter, all right, in Pee Wee. All right? They got to stay disciplined. It doesn't matter how good they are if they don't stay disciplined. You watched that game a year ago, okay, and you break that all 22 copy down. LSU was so undisciplined and just got gashed by Florida State. If they do that again, Florida State's going to run the ball all on them. But if they can stay disciplined like we saw later in the year, Alabama, Georgia at times, and Purdue, I think this team could do some damage. But they just have to play sound fundamental football, and sometimes athletes don't like doing that, right? But I agree. This is one of the biggest matchups, really, of the entire game.
Super chat there from my guy Eddie. Appreciate you, Eddie.
Touchdown, Florida State! Touchdown, FSU!
I think we can all agree on one thing. Go Utes. Hey, Blake, so how much – so Utah down to their third-string quarterback. You still got them winning?
I put money – I sprinkled some seeds on the money line. On Florida, though, TJ.
I was going to say, I think Florida wins. Oh, I thought you were saying Utah.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, man, third-string quarterback, dude.
Yeah. How do you
look, Billy's bad. Billy ain't that bad. Billy's bad.
They're not only down rising, they're down their top tight end, too, who caught like 100 yards and a touchdown on UF last year. Like, where are they going to have offense? So
this is what the Utah people. We have Utah people in our chat. I don't know if y'all do. We always do. They were like, we're going to run the ball 60 times and we're going to beat Florida. please God, go up against a Southeast team and run the ball 60 times and see what happens.
I'll tell you, if there was one SEC team that could do that, it would be Florida. USF almost beat them last year doing that. So
True.
Them big 400-pound boys they're gonna be sucking wind up at that.
Oh, that dude ain't gonna play. He's up, dude, man. He's up in the mountains.
Give me the oxygen, man. I can see it. So, all right,
I need oxygen, and I'm below sea level. You know what I mean?
All right, Richie talked about the front seven, but I wanted, I've talked about, when people have asked me what I'm most confident on, what I feel good about, it is Florida State's weapons, and it's
no doubt.
It's not even an LSU thing. That would be against anyone we play this year. I think a lot of teams would like to have the combination of Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman and Jaheim Bell and some of the other Destin Hill and Winston Wright and other guys that are in that room.
You're welcome for 2 Louisiana wide receivers, by the way.
Woo-woo. Destin Hill's going to catch the first touchdown of the game. Listen, I got a question, though. If there's a place that concerns you on this LSU roster, is it the secondary? Like, is that the matchup you're most worried about?
1,000%. I know what I'm getting everywhere else. Right? I know what I'm getting with the O-line. I know what I'm getting with LSU's wide receivers. I know what look, one thing that's not been talked about in this game, which we can get to in a minute, LSU's tight end room is nasty. Nasty. They got a kid, Kamori and Pimpton. Good luck. Harold Perkins can't catch him. And he's 6'6", 260. Anyway, I digress. The one place, though, that LSU's going to I'm more nervous than a long-tailed cat sitting next to a rocking chair in this secondary. I'm just being real, especially at corner. So I don't like it. I really don't. I've seen what this team's been doing during camp, and they hadn't been stopped, meaning LSU's wide receivers. If you think that Florida State's got weapons, then they should look good. Now, TJ, what's the game plan against them? Do they try to keep everything in front of them and just make tackles in open space? Like, what do they do? Does Brian Kelly have a good game plan? But I do worry about it, yeah.
On the other side of the ball, it's probably one of the most fun quarterback matchups that you could possibly have with Hayden and Jordan. And I think that that's going to be a ton of fun to see. Jaden was a little inconsistent last year, but can you just talk about his development as a passer? Obviously, he's just lightning fast, and if he takes off, you could eat up a quarter of the field very quickly. But just talk about his development as a passer.
So we talked about this at length this week, TJ, on our show. We did like a 30, 35-minute segment on it. If you broke down both these quarterbacks, like I still have my notes right here from the show, they're damn near identical. Like, damn near identical. You know what's crazy to me? Everybody talking about Jaden Daniels being inconsistent. He threw for 69% completion percentage last year and had 400 attempts. Okay? Then I look at LSU's drops a year ago. TJ, they led the SEC in drops. So I'm like, yeah. Like, how much better is he going to be from an accuracy standpoint? Because he was pretty accurate. He's got to force the ball down the field. You cannot nickel and dime Florida State 10 plays, go in there and score. It's not going to work. That D-line's too good. But I do think that he's progressed a lot as a passer, okay, and just being in the offense for the second year. But from a consistency standpoint, when he gets rolling, he gets rolling. If at the end of the first quarter, if he's 8 for 11 for 80 yards, it's in, somebody might be in for a long night because he did that against Alabama. He did it against Florida. He did it in the beginning against Tennessee, even though LSU got blown out. All the games that he had success in, he started off red hot. It was either we're going to be really hot or really cold. Can he be more consistent? Is going to be the ultimate question. But how crazy is it that both quarterbacks are dang near identical? Yards, touchdowns, completion percentage. It is years in a program, years in college football. Like, come on, dude. Like, you can't script this up. You can't do it.
It's crazy how much of a mirror image both these teams are to each other, really, with, fairly new coaches, that definitely utilizing the transfer portal. But speaking of Jaden Daniels, obviously everybody knows Malik Neighbors, right? That's a guy that is going to play on Sundays for a long, long time. And, everyone knows him. But I think LSU probably has a lot of other weapons that people don't know about. Tell us about some of these other weapons that Jaden Daniels has to throw to, because I think there's more than most Florida State fans realize.
LSU has more 5 stars at receiver than anybody in the country not named Ohio State. Like Aaron Anderson, Brian Thomas Jr., Jalen Brown, Shelton Sampson. Like the only other team that has more 5 stars on their roster at wide receiver is literally Ohio State by 1. They can throw a lot at you. And look, like, so there's a kid that we do a lot of NIL stuff with. Like, I probably shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because this is ridiculous. This is an absolutely ridiculous picture. Like this, okay, you probably can't see it that well, but that's Chris Hilton in the back of the end zone going up one-handed making a catch. They have not been stopped, right? So they have Aaron Anderson, Chris Hilton, Brian Thomas. It's been ridiculous, man. And they have not been stopped. I think Aaron Anderson's if Florida State fans want to look out for an offensive player that they might not know a lot about, his name's Aaron Anderson. Just keep your eyes on him. They're going to throw him the ball a lot in the first half, I think. They're going to get him out in space and try to let him get out there and run. He's going to return punts. He's going to return kicks. That's the guy that you need to key in on. If he has 5-6 targets in the first half, I think that he's going to break one. I think he's that electric. He was a 5-star for a reason. He signed with Alabama out of high school. Just some things didn't work out for him. So we'll see. But I do think, Richie, that they have a lot of talent at that position and freshmen that can come in and play.
We had a super chat from Miss Barnes. Play it, Harlan.
Fire up the war chant and plant the spear. Nose wind, nose wind.
Hey, how mad were they at me, TJ, when I said the war chant stunk as a joke? Were they mad?
A little bit. They get it. Shout out Lindsay from Venmo. Welcome to Orlando, LSU fans. Go Noles. I'd like to point out that Lindsay's super chat was $24.23. So $24.23.
The ultimate level of petty.
Yeah,
you gotta
yeah.
love it, man.
Well, she's also an Alabama fan, Blake. So she's doubly invested in this game.
Look who she married. So it makes
I mean, nobody in Alabama has teeth. Never mind.
Okay, LSU failed to establish a little bit really any run game at all last year outside of Daniels. Do you think that they'll be able to this year? Or, I mean, Florida State wasn't great on the ground either, just for what it's worth. Or are we just going to pass like every down and like really play real men's football and just throw the ball?
No, I do think LSU wants to see if they can get a part of this line of scrimmage. But again, I mean, LSU had 5 brand new offensive linemen that started last year. And you saw look, man, you had a true freshman graded out on, I don't know, either you love PFF or you don't love PFF. That's up to you. I'm just, it is what it is. Emory Jones graded out as a 90% grade against Will Anderson last year. I mean, he was phenomenal. There's a reason why they're both All-Americans for reasons. I think Will Campbell's a dude, man. He's good. He's a dude. The question becomes, the problem that I have, TJ, is this. I think Braden Fisk is a dude, and I think Lovett is like Fabian Lovett wakes up and eats running backs for breakfast. He's done that 365 straight days. Is he going to do it again? I don't like that. LSU's going to have to try to get out into the perimeter with their speed. Running it right at Florida State's not going to be smart. I don't think LSU tries to do that. Now, do y'all disagree with that? Would you run it up the middle against Braden Fisk and Lovett? No, you wouldn't.
I wouldn't, but you got what's tough, and this is, I'm not trying to be too much of a homer. You can run at the top 10 draft pick playing the edge. I mean, like, it's a problem either way, I feel like. And to the same point, probably for FSU too. Like, okay, you don't want to run up the middle against the kid. Okay, there's Harold Perkins, ready for you on the edge. Right. That's where I don't know. I do think both teams will do their very best to establish it. You mentioned Mike Norvell, was born saying counter. Mario Cristobal is going to die, go to his grave saying counter for what Norvell has done, in that series. But yeah, I think they'll do their best, but I just don't know how effective they'll be because I think both fronts are so good. So, I mean, I agree with you that they'll try. We might look up in the fourth quarter and neither team has 100 yards rushing outside of the quarterback.
Look, and I wouldn't. If LSU came out with a win against this team and didn't do it, I don't give two Rudy Poos. Like I don't think. And TJ, I told you, I've said this. In a game like this, you can't. It doesn't matter what you got to do to win. If you beat them 9-6, beat them 9-6. We'll figure out the offense or defensive struggles later on in the year. You got Grambling, you got all these other Rudy Poo State universities coming to town. The Rena wins. You'll figure out what you got to do then. Against a good team like Florida State or LSU, from a Florida State perspective, you just got to go in, as what's your boy from the Raiders said, just win, baby. Like, whatever works is you just got to continue to do. And you know what happened last year? Florida State just continued to do it more than LSU did. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm 100% in. The game 1, top 10 matchup, just win the game. I don't care how it looks. I don't care if it's 2-0. It doesn't matter. If it's 51-48, great. We got the win. We'll figure everything else out. I agree with you, Blake, 100%. And to your point, just talking the trenches a little bit, and we're going to get into some our pick 6 over-unders here next. But just curious what you think the best matchup on the field will be Sunday night, and why is it Jared versus Will Campbell?
Well, because I think it's 2 top 5 picks going at it.
Yeah.
And you saw a year ago. Now Jared Verse would go to each end. Okay, I'm not saying he moved because of Will Campbell last year. But after that first quarter, Jared Verse was not playing on the backside of Jaden Daniels. Really, if you go turn on that film, he had one time where he just made Will Campbell. He said, "Welcome to big boy football." Okay, everybody remembers it. He just, manhandled him. But then after that, Will Campbell started holding his own. I do think the best matchup is going to be LSU's O-line versus this D-line. Like, everybody else, you know where you're going to get your brownie points in. LSU knows. Florida State knows. The NFL game that we're going to see with LSU's O-line and Florida State's defensive line is going to be on full display. I do think it's Will Campbell, and I do think it's Emory Jones, man. People aren't talking enough about him. Like, the simple fact that we have film of him pancaking Will Anderson multiple times, does Will Anderson suck? I don't think he sucks. He said, what was he, the number 3 overall pick? He's a great dude. He's a great talent. Well, he got his ass kicked. Excuse my language. But he got his rear end torn up, okay? So I do think I agree with you, Richie. I think that's the biggest battle, and whatever team wins, that's going to win. I fully believe that.
All right, Richie, we're going to do our prize picks. Blake, you're going to hang out with us. You remember this from last year? You remember the prize picks?
Brother, I don't remember what I ate for breakfast.
Come on, man. All right. Listen, we didn't work with them last year, but we are working with them again this year. If you haven't downloaded the Prize Picks app, it is a skill-based fantasy game.
I do remember this.
Yeah. We pick different stat lines for you can combine picks. You can go do. I think it's up from 2 to 6. It's legal in 31 states. You guys are gonna want to be part of this. If you deposit using our code on the Prize Picks app, you will get a deposit match up to $100. So go check them out. Our code is DFNS. Really easy to remember. DFNS. You pick up to 2 to 6 players. If they get more or less than their prize pick projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. So, for example, you could take Jordan Travis over under 220 yards and Jaden Daniels over under 210 yards. Pick which side you want, more or less, and if you get both of them, you win. Use DFNS as the code when you sign up and get a deposit match and make some money with us. We're going to be betting on it with these. Just got my deposit done this evening. The game is not on there yet, Richie, so you're going to just be putting these out there. These are the Barn Sports book. But tell us what you got, Richie. Let's go over under on these.
Yeah, let's open it up with, I think, the most dangerous part of LSU's offense, Jaden Daniels' rushing yards. I have it set at 74.5 yards for Sunday night. Let's start with our LSU guy, Blake, here.
Over under 74.5 yards rushing, you said?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go over.
TJ, what do you think?
When Blake was on here with me and we watched the replay, Jared Verse got like 16 sacks in a row, and I don't know that he gets quite that many, but since sacks do count, stupidly, against rushing yards, I'm going to go under here.
I think that's a good point, but man, we're one play and man coverage away from him running for 50, and then the rest is just it's easy money at that point. I think I'm going to take the over as well. I don't know if he hits triple digits, but I will take the over 74.5. But then let's see what Jordan Travis can do with his arm. 239.5 passing yards. I think this is an over. We just talked about LSU secondary being maybe the only weak spot of the entire team that they have. And Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, Jaheim Bill, Kyle Moore, like Dustin Hill. I got to go over here. What do you think, TJ?
Same thing. I'm over on this. I don't know that he goes for 300 or anything crazy, but I think they're going to look to pass the ball. I think that 250 would be very reasonable. So I'd have more than 239.5. Blake?
Life's too short to play the under. I go over.
Just fill my card up with overs all over. So, all right, Richie.
So this is one that I have a really tough time with. Trey Benson. He's obviously looking to be drafted fairly high, really made a name for himself last year, 79.5 rush yards. He didn't do much against LSU last year, but he didn't really get going until about a month into the season. So TJ, Trey Benson, 79.5 rushing yards.
And I feel like if you take an under, and it's hard because you develop, you start to, I feel like if you take an under, you're hating on a kid. But I'll take the under here. I think he has a good game. I think this is a pass-heavy game. I think the front for LSU and Florida State are just too good. I think Florida State can get 100 yards rushing, like outside of Jordan Travis with their 4 or 5 headed monster they like to use. But I don't know that he himself goes over 79.5. I'll go under.
All right, Blake.
I'm going to go under as well. I think both teams are going to use backs by committee to some extent. They did it last year and had success. Now, maybe I'm wrong.
I hate to have a consensus, but I think I'll go under as well. Spoiler, as we get closer to our score predictions, I think this is a shootout, and there will be a lot of throwing the ball around by both teams. Speaking of throwing the ball around, Keon Coleman, Michigan State transfer. Todd McShay has him as the number 2 receiver in the draft this year, 59.5 receiving yards. So many weapons for Florida State. He could go for 150. He could go for 28. I don't know. I'm actually going to lean the under here. I think Dustin Hill has a big game against his hometown team. What do you think, Blake?
Keon Coleman, what's the number again? Give me
59.5.
Over. Well over.
Yeah, I got the over here as well. This is like 2 catches for him. I think that over me as well.
All right, so we're down to our final 2. Let's go to the other side of the ball. Malik Neighbors, 64.5 receiving yards. Blake just kind of laid it out. Although the casual fan that doesn't know much about LSU might think he's all they have, they got a lot of weapons to catch the ball. Let me start with Blake since we're going LSU here. Malik Neighbors, 64.5 yards.
I feel so bad about this because I keep saying over. I just think it's going to be such an offensive game. I'm going to go over here too, man. I go over here as well.
TJ.
Yeah, I can't take the under on Jaden's rushing yards and then the under. I don't think we're winning this thing 31-10. So yeah, you got to go over somewhere. So I got LSU going over on Neighbors receiving yards.
I'll be the contrarian and take the under because I do think LSU has some serious weapons in the receiving corps that a lot of people don't know about. And, I could be made a fool of on the first drive and he could catch a 75-yard touchdown pass after a touchback, but
you better not.
I'm going to take the under. in the last one I have here.
Please, God, I hope he does.
That happens. I'm walking out of Camping World. Well, I'm stumbling out of Camping World Stadium if that happens.
In the last one I have, in the honor of last year's, whatever that game was, 2.5 total turnovers between both teams. I'm going to take the over. I think it's a little sloppy in the first half, maybe 2 in the first half, 1 in the second half, but I'm going to say 3+ turnovers. Let's go to Blake.
Give me the under. I think there's going to be a massive emphasis. Florida State fumbling the ball multiple times in the red zone, LSU recovering, LSU having 2 muff punts. Give me the under.
I'll go over here. I do think the game itself will be a little less sloppy than last year, but there's a difference in like sloppy turnovers, like a tossed, like last year, to me, it was sloppy turnovers. The muffed punts, the fumble in the red. This year, I feel like it's more like Jared Verse strip sack, Harold Perkins intercept, like Fintrell Cypher, like stuff like that. Where
Actual
somebody
forced
undercuts a route.
turnovers as opposed to last year.
Right, yeah.
You
You
just gave the ball away.
you've got guys like making plays because they're elite, not, oh no, God, what do I do with the ball? Like that. So I'll lean over here, but I think it is a less sloppy game. So
What if there's a special teams touchdown and like one of the teams is like, I'm the best there ever was? As sloppy as special teams go full Ricky Bobby, you're going, sorry.
the
Louisiana
I've
Mud
got-
Dogs, I love it.
Yeah, I've got Destin Hill taking the opening kickoff back for a touchdown, Blake. So,
Listen. I don't mean, look, this is going to come off so wrong, okay? I'm more worried about Keon Coleman.
oh, for sure, punt return.
Like
It's nasty.
Like, look, man, let's just. The dude hadn't played football in 2 years, man. Now, I do think I told you this, TJ, when he committed to Florida State. I thought he was the best receiver in that class. Okay, I still believe that. But I mean, like, if this were anybody else, LSU has it. John Emery. Okay, when you miss that much football, I do gotta see it before I believe it. You know what I mean? Am I wrong?
Supposedly, I'm not out there, but they're saying, bro.
The
they're
word from
saying
camp,
some
yes.
crazy. He's listed as a starter right now. You believe that?
That was wild.
That's
I
nuts,
thought it was
man.
depth chart.
And I don't think that's
over a guy
Norvell
like
just being
Winston
nice.
Wright, who had 60-plus catches for 800 yards at West Virginia 2 years ago. I need to see it to believe it. I'm kind of with you, Blake, but man, what we're hearing is ridiculous from Destin Hill.
I went to a game of his when he was a senior, okay? And they got the ball back like off of a turnover. He looked over to the media, Destin Hill. He looked over to the media. He pointed at us. He goes, fade route, tutty. Goes out there, fade route, touchdown. They win the game.
Oh my
he comes up to me and he goes, sup. And like walks past. I'm just like, what just happened, you dude? Like he's got serious swag to him, man. Serious swag to him.
It's epic. It's epic. Jasper, super chat, my man. Harlan got it. Oh, Harlan's out. Forgot that Harlan was out for a minute. Oh, there he is. He's back. Love y'all, brother. Go Knowles. Jasper, just showing love. No question, no nothing. Harlan, you got a sound for my man, Jasper?
You a recruit and you ain't going to Florida State. What you doing?
Great. I love that one. Thank you, Jasper. Appreciate the love.
Appreciate it,
All right.
man.
Let's so that's our pick six made from Prize Picks. Prize Picks pick six. Sheesh. Learn how to talk. Again, DFNS is the code when you go to check out. Richie, how are we doing these score predictions? Harlan, you want to come do a score prediction? Blake, you want to go first? What do you guys want to do? How do you want to get out of here?
Well, it doesn't matter to me, man. I'm on y'all's show. I'm just here
Blake,
so I
run
don't
this
get
thing.
fined.
Run this thing, bro. All right, Richie, you go first. What you got?
Yeah, man, I think it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be an offensive game. I hate to be cliche. Team with the last ball probably wins the team with the ball last probably wins this game. I just like Florida State's pass catchers against LSU secondary. I think Jaden Daniels is going to go off and have a phenomenal game. I'm still not sold on Adam Fuller. This is a show me year for Adam Fuller, Florida State's defensive coordinator. But give me Florida State 38, LSU 34.
Ooh. I'm right there with you on a score. Just kind of the opposite, Richie. Last night I said 38-31 LSU. Look, this is going to come off so wrong. And TJ talked about this morning on the Bill King show. So I feel awful saying
Thank
this.
you for listening.
Oh, I did.
I didn't listen.
I listen when you're on, Blake.
I'm the big guy lurking in the back. I don't say anything, but I always be listening.
I listen when you're on. I listen.
I just do think I just cannot get past for me that I don't think Mike Norvell is a bad coach. Let me preface by saying that.
Oh boy.
I just think that Brian Kelly has been in this situation before. I do think they have the talent. I do think they get the ball last. Like I said last night before TJ even went on the Bill King show this morning, they go down and score, and that's the game. I think they're going to trade punches. Also, if the game's 38-31 Florida State, okay. Like, Richie, I'm right there with you. Whoever's got the ball last, I think, wins this one. I really – and you know what? I said this in our preseason playoff picks. I got them both going to the playoff. Like, I just really think both of these teams are so good. But I'm not going to say no to LSU, bro. Come on.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Either way, man, I cannot wait. Are you coming down to the Orlando for the game?
No, we get paid for the post-game shows, and
Okay,
so, I'm like, spend money, make money. But, not
a
the
wise man. Yes.
Not the Billy Napier way,
Yeah.
Scared money
does make money.
Scared money
does make money.
Scared money stays in Baton Rouge. So, all right, Harlan's the GOAT right now. Today's his wife's birthday. He was gone all week, and there was a hurricane that ran through, his part of town, and he's still out here producing. But I'm going to give you his score. He can't jump on just audio-wise. Harlan, I got nothing to back this up. I got no idea if he's trying a little reverse jinx here. I got no idea what his take is, but he's got 31-28 LSU. So you guys give Harlan hell. I don't know what he's got going on over there.
Hell yeah.
But I will take it. I'll take it back to a tiebreaker. LSU fans are going to get pissed at this, but this is really what I think happens. So
they're already pissed at you.
Here we are. I got FSU 31-21. They kick a field goal late to make that a 2-score game. I don't think they die. I think they're up by 1 score, get a late field goal, kind of a not garbage time, but just put it out of reach, go up by 10 with like a minute and a half to go. So 31-21 FSU. Listen, I said that like 6 months ago, and then I've just stuck with it. So I've literally just been, sometimes you just go back and forth, and you're like, oh, this is it. I just was like, you know what? I'm going to 6 months stay with the same score prediction. And so there we have it. Blake, where can people find your work, follow you, listen to your show? You've got the best LSU stuff out there. Truly, it's not, a little bit of it's because we won last year after you were on, but most of it's because we really do like you. And anytime we play LSU, hopefully in the SEC every single year after this next couple of years. But we'll always have you on. So you do a great job. Again, if you guys are FSU fans, go listen up to this if you've missed everything else, because you need to go follow Blake and find his work.
I will say this. We play Georgia and Bama consistently almost every year, okay? I've never seen a fan base in my mentions, DMs, and chat more than Florida State. Congratulations. Last night, TJ, 187 comments after the show was over. And 180 of them were probably Florida State fans telling me. One guy said I look like it looks like I'm an Italian guy that all I do is eat gabagool all day, and I mean like coming up with crazy.
Was he wrong?
Yeah, no, but AYS Sports all across the board: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, and then we do our Ruffino and Joe show. We'll be live multiple times this week, Florida, Utah tonight. So we're getting ready for that. So you can follow us on both those platforms. Rate, review, and subscribe. And if you're on SiriusXM, TJ, we got some news. We got some news next week. So SiriusXM and Fubo TV, Believe TV.
Let's go.
I'm way too poor for that. But for you rich folks in the chat, first of all,
me too. I'm like, throw your buddy a bone here.
Yeah. Hey. Can I get a hookup on a membership, please?
Hey man. Well, They will probably get mad at me. I'll probably get fired on my first day. I did ask XM, like, hey, does this come with like a free membership?
That's hilarious. Bro, my wife got a new car like a year and a half ago, and it had all that stuff on, like XM, they give you that membership so you get hooked on it, man. I was hooked, man. I loved that. Now I'm listening to the Poor People Radio like a normal person. So, Blake, love you. Good luck this weekend. Not too much, but good luck this weekend. And again, FSU fans, go follow him. He does a great job on all this stuff.
Thanks, man. I love you guys. It's all in fun and games. Thank y'all for having me, bro.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Man.
All right, we'll see y'all soon. Go Tigers.
Get out of him. Get him out of here before.
All right, later.
Say that again. Blake Ruffino, AYS Sports. I thought it was good, Richie. I think we wrap up with this. I feel like I've talked about this LSU game for 6 months now. I don't know that I have a lot else to add. I think if Florida State goes out there and truly, I do believe this. Maybe I'm a little bit of a homer, but I think if Florida State plays their best game, there's maybe one team in this country that can beat them. And so I think that if Florida State goes out and executes and performs up to the level that they need to, I think they beat LSU. I think Jordan Travis is slightly better than Jaden Daniels. I think that Florida State's running attack is a little bit better than LSU's. I think that Florida State's wideouts, their talent at the wide receiver and tight end positions combined, Florida State, I think, has the edge there. I think Florida State is maybe not as star talented on the offensive line, but probably has more depth there. I think that Florida State's defensive line is probably just a little bit above LSU's. I think LSU probably wins the linebacker unit, and then I think Florida State again is the slight margin in secondary. So I think that if Florida State is slightly better than LSU everywhere else, then I like the Noles to win, but man, I do think this is going to be a phenomenal game and really just be a ton of fun. So that's probably my parting words. Those are my parting thoughts because I don't have a ton else. I feel like I've talked about this game for hours and hours and hours. If you need more of my thoughts on the game, just go to the channel and find anything with an LSU logo on it and you can hear more. But Richie, last thoughts before we get to Sunday?
Yeah, I've been extremely high on Harold Perkins for a very long time. I just think linebacker is not the position you would pick to have the most elite player at that position in the country, right? Defensive end, yes. Left tackle, yes. Quarterback, yes. Receiver, cornerback. But linebacker, there's only so much Harold Perkins can do that you can scheme around. I just think this is Florida State's game to lose. So I do think it's very close to a coin flip with a slight edge to Florida State, in my opinion. But there's no reason that if Florida State plays their A game, they should win this game. That's just how I feel. And I think as Mike is going to have them ready. Today, Thursday, he had his practice with he had his media availability after practice. He said, we looked a little sloppy to start. Gave me reminiscence of old school Jimbo when he was in his prime here, when he would always complain about the last practice for a big game. Yeah, man, I'm excited. We'll be there. We have a big tailgate going on. If we're not sold out by the time you're listening to this, we probably are, but still go check the website just in case, because there's very few tickets left. I just cannot wait. We've done everything, right? We've talked about it all off season, all month during preseason camp. It's been LSU because that's what happens when you play a game like this to open the season. I'm just ready for toe to meet leather on Sunday, and let's see what happens. There's no more talking to be done, TJ. It's time to go out, and as they say, games will be played.
Yeah, excited for it. Hey, I want to answer a couple of questions in the chat. Somebody asked about double fries, no slaw. That's just how you get your gut box in Tallahassee. Guthrie's will obviously be out there at the tailgate. So everybody's podcast and shows like Spear or Tribe or Knoll or Tomahawk or this, that, and the other. So we just wanted to be different. And then, yeah, shout out to LSU fans. There are some idiots in every fan base, but LSU fans really have been phenomenal to interact with these last couple of years. We're going to cheer for you guys the rest of the way. I'm going to cheer for y'all from, midnight on Tuesday morning until until we see you again in the playoff. So, and I know that LSU fans are going to do the same thing with FSU. So LSU fans have been a ton of fun these last couple of years. And again, this will be a fun rivalry when we get to the SEC. So if you're in Orlando, hit us up on the socials. It's Double Fries Pod, or you can just hit me up at TJ_Pittenger. Email is TJ@doublefriesnoslaw.com. Come and have some fun there in Orlando with us at the tailgate. Big shout out to the Battle's End. I was going to give them some love too. They've got some stuff going on game day too. So check them out. If you're not already signed up, you should go play in the golf tournament on Saturday morning. And if you want to keep bringing elite talent to Tallahassee and retaining elite talent, make sure that you're signing up for thebattlesend.com. Richie, Harlan, Blake, I'm TJ. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Go Noles.